What if your greatest gift was also your greatest curse? Imagine walking into a room and instantly sensing who is lying, who is hurting, and who hides behind their smile. You read the unspoken emotions in people's faces, feel the tension in their voices, and notice the invisible dynamics that others ignore. At first, it feels like a superpower, a rare insight into the hidden workings of human nature. But slowly, this gift turns into isolation. People feel exposed around you. Relationships crumble because your clarity makes others uncomfortable. Eventually, you realize that seeing everything others miss is not a blessing. It's a dangerous kind of awareness. This was Carl Jung's most dangerous discovery, the psychological cost of differentiated perception, an advanced form of intuition that allows some people to perceive unconscious truths others cannot bear to see. Jung found that those who possess this ability often end up alone, misunderstood, and psychologically overwhelmed. Their problem isn't madness, but too much consciousness. The gift that becomes a curse. In his clinical work, Jung encountered individuals who could sense emotional undercurrents and hidden motives with startling accuracy. He called this capacity-differentiated perception. These people could read micro-expressions, detect lies instantly, and perceive the collective emotional atmosphere of any environment. However, this sensitivity came with a heavy price. Jung observed that such individuals often became socially isolated, not because they were unstable, but because they saw through illusions that most people need to survive. Social life, Jung argued, depends on unspoken agreements, shared illusions that keep harmony intact. When someone sees through those illusions, they unintentionally threaten the group's cohesion. He wrote that these individuals are not ill, but too conscious. Their perception was so fine-tuned that it pierced the protective veil of ordinary awareness. What they saw was not always comforting. They perceived the pain, hypocrisy, and repression that most people unconsciously ignore. When the unconscious becomes too conscious. Jung described a particular case in 1913, at the height of his own inner turmoil following his split from Freud. The patient, an introverted, intuitive woman, could immediately sense the psychological climate of any room. She knew who was angry, who was grieving, who was hiding resentment, often before anyone spoke. Her accuracy was uncanny, but her gift destroyed her social life. She couldn't engage in small talk because she saw through every facade. People avoided her because they felt seen in ways they weren't ready for. In Jung's words, she wasn't pathological. She was experiencing what happens when the unconscious becomes too conscious. This insight led Jung to a profound realization. Human consciousness operates within limits for a reason. Too much awareness of unconscious content can destabilize a person, making ordinary functioning almost impossible. The mirror people cannot bear. As Jung studied these highly perceptive individuals, he noticed a troubling pattern. Because they could see others' unconscious motives clearly, they often became targets of hostility. People would project their shadow, their repressed and unacknowledged traits, onto them. Jung called this phenomenon shadow projection. When someone unconsciously recognizes their flaws mirrored in another person, they face two options: integrate the shadow or attack the mirror. Most choose the latter. Thus, the perceptive individual becomes a scapegoat, blamed for problems they merely observe. He wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But few people take that path. Instead, they attack those who see too clearly. For the highly intuitive, this means constant misunderstanding and rejection. They often end up feeling like mirrors society cannot bear to look into." The three dangers of differentiated perception. Through years of observation, Jung identified three primary dangers for those with this heightened consciousness. 1. Collective unconscious disruption. Social groups rely on shared illusions, things everyone agrees to ignore. When someone exposes these unconscious truths, they threaten the unspoken order. Such people become destabilizing forces, often rejected or silenced for the sake of maintaining harmony. 2. Psychological isolation. Those who perceive deeply often feel cut off from others. Jung called this the curse of consciousness. Awareness cannot be shared with those who lack it. The result is existential loneliness, the feeling of living in a different reality from everyone else. 3. Identity dissolution. The most dangerous outcome occurs when perceptive individuals absorb others' unconscious material so completely that they lose their own sense of self. Jung called this participation mystique, the merging of one's identity with the collective psyche, leading to confusion and psychological exhaustion. For Jung, these dangers were not abstract theories, but lived experiences, struggles he himself faced during his confrontation with the unconscious, recorded in the Red Book. The path of integration, individuation, to survive and thrive. With such perception, Jung proposed a structured healing process he called individuation. This was not about suppressing sensitivity, but integrating it consciously. Phase 1. Recognition and differentiation. The first task is to recognize which emotions and thoughts belong to oneself and which are absorbed from others. Jung taught his patients to spend time in solitude, allowing the mental noise to settle until they could hear their own authentic inner voice. Without this discrimination, true individuality cannot develop. Phase 2. Shadow integration. Next comes the courage to face one's own darkness. Jung found that those who see others' shadows clearly often project their own unacknowledged aspects outward. Integration means admitting that we contain every quality we perceive in others: envy, deceit, pride, cruelty, and owning them without judgment. Phase 3. Conscious participation. Finally, the individuated person learns to engage with others' unconscious material without being overwhelmed. This requires building what Jung called psychological containers, inner structures that allow one to hold awareness of others' emotions while remembering they are not one's own. The goal is not to withdraw from society, but to participate consciously, to become a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious world. Case studies: Nietzsche and Meister Eckhart. Jung illustrated the consequences of unintegrated and integrated perception through two historical figures. Friedrich Nietzsche. Jung admired Nietzsche's insight into human nature, but saw his downfall as a tragic example of identification with the superior function. Nietzsche saw through the illusions of religion and morality, but his insight turned against him. He became possessed by his own intellect and ultimately succumbed to psychological collapse. Meister Eckhart. In contrast, the medieval mystic Meister Eckhart represented successful integration. He too saw deeply into spiritual reality, but expressed it with compassion and humility. He turned perception into wisdom, offering clarity that healed rather than condemned. Jung praised Eckhart's conscious humility, his ability to share truth without attachment or superiority, stages of transformation. For those seeking to transform dangerous perception into wisdom, Jung proposed 4 stages of growth. 1. Recognition, without overwhelm. Acknowledge your heightened awareness without being crushed by it. Accept your perception as part of your identity, not a flaw. 2. Integration, without isolation. Learn to maintain relationships while remaining authentic. The goal is to stay connected, not retreat from society. 3rd service, without sacrifice. Use your perception to serve others without losing yourself. Turn your sensitivity into compassion, not martyrdom. 4th, legacy. without attachment. At the highest stage, one serves humanity without the need for recognition. This is the transcendent function, seeing deeply, acting wisely, and letting go of the outcome. Pitfalls on the path. Jung warned that even those progressing toward integration could fall into several traps. The inflation trap. Identifying with one's superior function leads to arrogance or a prophet complex. Believing you are destined to wake the world is the ego hijacking the gift. The withdrawal justification, using sensitivity as an excuse to avoid people, mistaking isolation for wisdom. The helper's high, becoming addicted to saving others while neglecting one's own inner development. The overwhelm return. Forgetting boundaries during stress and becoming reabsorbed by others' emotions. Jung's remedy was ongoing self-work, solitude, creative expression, shadow integration, and relationships with those who could hold depth without fear, conscious companionship, and safe relationships. Jung emphasized that the path of individuation cannot be walked alone. Highly perceptive individuals need relationships with people who can understand, or at least respect their depth. He identified 3 types of healthy companions. 1. Fellow individuated persons, those who have already undergone similar transformation and can meet you with authenticity. 2. Those engaged in inner work, people in therapy, meditation, or personal growth who can handle truth without defensiveness. 3. Natural containers, emotionally stable individuals who can hold space for complexity without collapsing. These relationships serve as mirrors of safety, allowing the perceptive person to exist without fear of rejection or projection. The consciousness pioneer. Ultimately, Jung believed that people with this dangerous gift are not broken. They are ahead of their time. They serve as what he called consciousness pioneers, individuals whose psychological evolution precedes that of the collective. Throughout history, such individuals have acted as early indicators of where human consciousness is heading. Their pain mirrors the unresolved tensions of society itself. By integrating their awareness, they help humanity evolve. Jung wrote, "What is not brought to consciousness comes to us as fate. Those who see clearly can help bring to light what society refuses to face, turning fate into understanding and suffering into growth." The final transformation. Jung's story of the 1913 patient comes full circle. After years of therapy and self-work, she learned to manage her perception consciously. She distinguished between what belonged to her and what didn't. She found work as a counselor, turning her painful sensitivity into a gift that helped others heal. Most importantly, she stopped seeing her ability as a curse. Jung wrote, "The patient learned not to see less, but to see more wisely." Her gift remained intact, but her relationship to it changed, from overwhelm to purpose. This transformation represents Jung's greatest insight. The danger of seeing everything is not in perception itself, but in failing to integrate it wisely. Conclusion. From burden to evolutionary gift. To see what others don't is to walk the knife's edge between insight and isolation. Jung's dangerous discovery reveals that perception beyond the collective norm can either destroy or evolve the individual. The difference lies in integration, in learning to see with wisdom, not just clarity. Those who bear this gift are not broken. They are the frontier of human consciousness. Their role is not to dim their light, but to master it, to see deeply without judgment, to reflect truth without arrogance, and to live with compassion for a world still learning to awaken. As Jung concluded, "You are not too much for this world. You are exactly what consciousness evolution requires." The danger of seeing everything is real, but so is the possibility of transforming that danger into cultural medicine.